Nurse Figaro's very cold Thursday. It was a Thursday that felt like the inside of a freezer, specifically, a freezer set to a biting -4 degrees. Outside, the world was a jagged popsicle of ice and wind, but inside, Figaro, the most handsome gray-brown tabby in the zip code, was keeping my paws tucked firmly into my chest. I knew something was amiss when the sun didn't bring my humans out of their rooms at the usual time. The house felt heavy and muffled, like a wet wool blanket draped over the morning. My sister Fatima wasn't her usual self. Usually she's ready to roll and face the day with a sparkle in her eye, but today she was tucked into her wheelchair with a look that said, "Not today, world." She was feeling under the weather, her usual bright energy dimmed by a scratchy throat and a tired spirit. I walked over and gave her a quick sniff check, my whiskers twitching in professional concern. Diagnosis: definitely needs a long, quiet nap. Then there was Mom, Gulson. She was moving at the speed of sound, a blur of maternal efficiency. One hand held a clinical thermometer like a conductor's baton, the other balanced a tray of steaming tea, and somehow she was also clutching a giant box of tissues. She was the captain of the SS Sniffles, and she was determined to keep us all afloat, even if she had to run a marathon between the kitchen and the bedrooms in her fuzzy slippers. Downstairs, the relaxation department was in full swing, though they seemed to be working overtime. Grandma Aisha was curled up on the sofa, her eyes closed as she drifted in and out of a peaceful, rhythmic snooze. Meanwhile, Grandpa Hassan was glued to the TV, his hand firmly gripping the remote like it was a sacred relic. They had the right idea: stay low, stay warm, and let the winter chaos pass them by. But my biggest patient, the one who required the most intensive feline intervention, was Dad Levent. He was a complete mess. His nose was redder than a fire truck, and he was making congested sounds like a broken tuba. I knew my duty. As a professional feline nurse, I hopped onto the bed and claimed my spot right on his chest. My purr is scientifically proven to be 400% more effective than any store-bought cough syrup. The job was not without its risks. Levent would cough, and I would bounce. He would sneeze, and I would be launched 3 inches into the air like a tabby rocket. It was a hazardous workplace environment, but I stayed firm. Every time he reached for a fresh tissue, I gave his hand a reassuring, sandpaper-textured lick. He smelled like eucalyptus, menthol, and general misery. But a dedicated nurse never complains about the working conditions. Every few hours, Gulson would whirlwind back into the room to check on the patients. She'd tuck Fatima's blanket a little tighter, smoothing out the wrinkles with a gentle hand, and offer Levent another glass of orange juice. She even gave me a quick, appreciative scratch behind the ears, which I accepted as a professional courtesy between healers. We were a team, she and I, the unsung heroes of the household. The afternoon stretched on in a haze of humidity and naps. The house was quiet, except for the occasional honk from Levent's nose and the muffled sounds of Grandpa Hassan's game shows drifting from downstairs. I stayed at my post, my fur getting slightly damp from the mist of the humidifier, but I didn't move an inch. A tabby's loyalty is measured in the hours spent warming a sick human's lap. Finally, after the sun had set and the dinner dishes were cleared, the miracle happened. Levent sat up. He didn't sound like a tuba anymore. He stretched his arms, stood up, and actually walked downstairs with a steady stride. Fatima was looking much brighter, too, her eyes sparkling with her usual wit as she waited in the kitchen. My work was done. The nurse Figaro shift had officially ended, and I was ready for my payment. I didn't want tuna, and I didn't want fancy treats. I wanted the ball. The little, jingly blue and silver ball that had been stuck under the heavy sofa for 3 long days. I fished it out with a masterfully extended claw and began my victory lap. As the family gathered in the warmth of the living room, I zoomed across the rug, batting my prize and celebrating the glorious return of my healthy humans.